Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu, text 31.
We have some technical problems, then we cannot solve.
Okay. Any technicians here who can solve problems? What's that? Yeah, well, at least stand by. Have a little. Well, at least some people, like among some spheres, it's famous. Does everyone know this verse? Nate vidu swartagatim Vishnu darashya ye bahi artamanina. Do you know that verse?
You've heard it before.
Well, you hear it at least one more time. So I'll just read the verse. Well, you have the book there, so we have some people with the magic phones, the smartphones for less intelligent people. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Text 31. Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu, Text 31. Nate vidu swartagatim hi Vishnu darashya ye bahir artamanina andayatander upagamanas te pikshatantram urudami vara Nate vidu swartagatim hi Vishnu darashya ye bahir artamanina andayatander upagamanas te pikshatantriyam urudami vara Nate vidu swartagatim hi Vishnu darashya ye bahir artamanina andayatander upagamanas te pikshatantriyam urudami vara Nate vidu swartagatim hi Vishnu darashya ye bahir artamanina andayatander upagamanas Sri Shatantram Urudami Vara Nate vidu swartagatim hi Vishnu darashya ye bahir artamanina andayatander upagamanas te pikshatantram urudami vara. Well, you have a phone, much we'll see. Yeah. Nate vidu swartagatim hi Vishnu darashya bahir artamanina andayatander upagamanas te pikshatantriyam urudami vara not te they vidu no swarta gatim the ultimate goal of life or one's own real interest or their own real interest. He indeed Vishnu Lord Vishnu and his abode. Durashaya, being ambitious to enjoy this material world. Yea, who? Bahi, external sense objects. Artamanina, considering as valuable. Anda, persons who are blind. Yatha, just as. Andai, by other blind men. Upiniyamana, being led. Te, they. Api, although. Ishatandriyam, to the ropes. Laws of material nature. Uru, having very strong. Damni, cords. Pada, bound. I'm surprised Hiranyakashipu wasn't impressed that a 5-year-old boy is composing Sanskrit verses like this. Obviously, he was quite dull in some ways. Persons who are strongly, translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects, cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home, back to Godhead, and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men, led by another materially attached man, are bound by the ropes of fruit of labor, which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. Purport. Since there must always be a difference of opinion between demons and devotees, Hiranyakashipu, when criticized by his son Prahlad Maharaj, should not have been surprised that Prahlad Maharaj differed from his own way of life. Nonetheless, Hiranyakashipu was extremely angry and wanted to rebuke his son for deriding his teacher or spiritual master, who had been born in the Brahmin family of the great Acharya, Shukracharya. The word Shukra means semen, and Acharya refers to a teacher or a guru. Hereditary gurus or spiritual masters have been accepted everywhere since time immemorial. But Prahlad Maharaj declined to accept such a seminal guru or take instruction from him. An actual guru is Strotriya, one who has heard or received perfect knowledge through parampara, the disciple succession. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj did not recognize the seminal spiritual master. Such spiritual masters are not at all interested in Vishnu. Indeed, they are hopeful of material success. Bahir Artha Manina. The word Bahi means external. Artha means interest, and Manina means taking very seriously. Generally speaking, practically everyone is unaware of the spiritual world. The knowledge of the materialist is restricted within the 4 billion mile limit of this material world, which is in the dark portion of the creation. They do not know that beyond the material world is the spiritual world. Unless one is a devotee of the Lord, one cannot understand the existence of the spiritual world. Gurus, teachers who are simply interested in this material world are described in this verse as anda, blind. Such blind men may lead other blind followers without true knowledge of material conditions, but they are not accepted by devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. Such blind teachers, being interested in the external material world, are always bound by the strong ropes of material nature. So the verse again. Ite vidu swartikatim hivishnum darashaya ye bhaya artamanina andayatandir upaniyamanas te piksha tantriyam urudami bada. Persons who are strongly trapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and are therefore accepted as their leader or guru, a similar blind man attached to external sense objects, cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially blind men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruit of labor, which are made of very strong cords. And they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatundeve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Siddharne. Srila Prabhupada, when he met with John Lennon at Tittenhurst Estate, John Lennon had invited the devotees who were homeless to his estate while they were renovating the temple in Bury Street. And during that time, Prabhupada met with John Lennon and Yoko. Is that her name, Yoko?
Yes.
Local Yoko. Yes. We mean that's what I said, loco. Yoko. Prabhupada said that John Lennon was a good boy. He just was misled a little. Just misled. In any case, there was George Harrison there was Yoko and John Lennon. And Prabhupada, they were asking him different questions. And Prabhupada was talking about liberation through music. They were interested in liberation through sense gratification. Prabhupada was interested in liberation through music. And this is the verses he quoted, how these beautiful verses sung by Prahlad Maharaj. Now in the previous verse, Prahlad Maharaj said, Matirna Krishna Parataksatova Mito Bipadyeta Griha Vratana. So matir means consciousness. And as explained in this verse also, everything depends upon our consciousness. We have a choice. We can try to become conscious of Krishna, or we can become conscious of something else. It's all Krishna, but being conscious of Krishna means be conscious of Krishna in his original form or his expansions or things in relation to Krishna. Prabhupada used to say, if you have so many different zeros, they all add up to the same. Zero. Doesn't matter how many zeros you have, it's all equal to zero. But if you put a 1 in front of that number, then it makes a very big number. So similarly, if we put Krishna into our consciousness, then our consciousness is in Krishna consciousness, and our destiny will be auspicious. Otherwise, generally speaking, Matirna Krishna, the last thing in this universe that anyone wants to put their mind on is Krishna. We've come here specifically to avoid Krishna. And we put on these dresses called material bodies, or they were put on us. It's more like they were put onto us. And we're walking around in this dream that right now I'm not Krishna, but only time separates me. All right, well, I'm not going to become Krishna. I'm going to become Radha. And I'm going to control Krishna. So everyone is interested in becoming either Radha and Krishna. And the last thing we want to find out is that Krishna is an actual person. Then you're supposed to think about Krishna. And if we're going to think about Krishna, we should understand that Krishna and myself, we're pals, we're the same. And if Krishna tries hard enough, he might get a little bit better than I am, but right now it's pretty much an equal contest. I met one lady at a Sunday feast in Chicago, and she was telling me how much she loved Krishna. Oh, I love Krishna. I even have a deity of Krishna. I worshiped Krishna. And one day when I worship Krishna enough, I'm going to become Krishna. So that's the general mentality. If we're going to think about Krishna, we're going to think about how Krishna and myself are the same. So, Matirana Krishna Parataksatova. And because there are so many problems, we have to take shelter of something. Since we don't want to take shelter of Krishna, therefore we're going to take shelter either of our own intelligence and try to develop it through personal study, or hear from authorities, try to take their help, or maybe I'll study a little bit and also take help of authorities and come up with my new, improved process of becoming perfect in this world. So I can tell everyone else how to do it, and eventually everyone can become just like I am. Perfect, powerful, and happy. But as I said in the Bhagavad Gita, the fools, they deride at my descending in this human form. They don't know my transcendental nature, and in the future, how I'm going to dominate over everything. So this is Matirana Krishna Parataksatova Mito Bipadyeta Griha Ratana. So what's the problem? Why does everyone want to take shelter of something other than Krishna? Because Griha Ratana, they've taken a vow somehow or another to enjoy in the material world. And it's all based upon the bodily concept of life. This is what people have faith in, that the bodily concept of life will actually bring me to the highest happiness possible. And it all begins with this body. Make the body comfortable, make the body strong, make it healthy, take my vitamins every day, go for a walk, drink enough water, and I'm on the way to success, material success. And when my body's strong and healthy, then I get a family, and I try to make them strong and healthy so they can make sure that I stay strong and healthy. Called Sanyeshu, my soldiers. Now, King Ugrasena, he was a little paranoid. He had four quadrillion personal bodyguards, but I just need around 3 or 4. Make my life protected. And then, of course, we get together with the other householders and we form a community, and eventually we call that a nation, and we're the good guys, and all the other guys are potentially good guys if they join us, or bad guys if they join some. If they're not for us, they must be against us. And the enemies of my enemies, they're my friends. So I see the whole world in terms of myself. So this is called Griha Vratanam. No matter how much we expand it, personal or extended selfishness, then the whole idea is somehow or another, make myself happy. And I make myself happy through making this body happy. Or other people's bodies happy if they make my body happy. Or my false ego. And what is the happiness? Andaya tandir upigamanas. Adanta gobir vishitam tamizram. The whole happiness is scratching the itch, as Prahlad Maharaj will say. In my tunadi grihamedi sukham itucham kanduyanena iva dukkha dukkam. Toriya iva dukkha dukkam. Take your hand and scratch the itch, and when there's no more itching sensation, I'm in bliss. So this is the happiness in the material world. Everyone will just want to scratch their itching sensations. And if they do that, then that's called happiness. And if I scratch your itch, you scratch my itch, then we call that love. And they write books about it. Oh, you scratched my itch. Felt so good. And I'll scratch your itch too. But you scratch mine twice as much as I scratch you. So this is called Adantago Bir Vishitamtam Isram. Because maybe my itch gets scratched, maybe I feel a little relief, I feel a little happiness, I feel something in my heart. I don't know what it is. They call it love. But the result is I'll go to hell. And I'll take my family with me. As one preacher was preaching to one lady that if you drink alcohol, you're going to go to hell. But she said, but my father drinks alcohol. Well, he's going to go to hell. Well, my mother drinks alcohol. Well, she's going to go to hell. Well, my brothers and sisters, they all drink alcohol. So they're all going to hell. But all my friends drink alcohol. Well, they're going to hell too. So the conclusion is, well, if my friends and relatives and my mother and father, everyone's in hell, then hell is heaven. Let's all go there, we can party. Adantago Bir Vishitamtam is Punat Punas Charvatachar. But it's the same thing over and over again. Maybe nowadays they put, roses and flags around it to make it appeal that this time it's going to be better. It's going to be super. It's not going to be super Sanskrit. It's just not going to be ordinary eating or sleeping or mating, defending. It's going to be super. The Prahladananda Maharaj said, yes, it's super for the mudhas, vimudhas. That these are not ordinary fools, they're super fools. They believe the same thing is happening again and again, and they believe this time is going to be different. So that's the definition of madness. You're doing the same thing over and over again, and you're getting the same result every time, but this time you think it's going to be different. It's like a dog. The dog, you see someone eating, his master is eating at the table. He wants to eat what his master is eating, so he's going to the table, and the master takes his newspaper and goes, whack! And the dog runs away. 5 minutes later, the dog looks at that's it. That's what I want. He comes up to the table, so this goes on. This is material life. That we're all we're looking at the table, this is what I want, we want to enjoy, and we're getting whacked every time. But still, we forget, and then 5 minutes later, we're back trying to enjoy again, only to get whacked. Punat punas charvanana. So what's the problem? The Tevidu Swarthakadhimi Vishnu. They don't know that the actual goal of life is to obtain Vishnu. So previously, there wasn't so much advertisement. So people's minds were not so much as crazy as they are now. When I first went to Poland, what surprised me the most, this is in 1992, which is not ancient history, that there are no advertisements on this and billboards on the street, mainly because they had nothing to sell. They were living in the Stone Age. And they're even on the highways, there are horses and buggies. And they didn't arrest them for going too slow. It was normal to see that. Nowadays, if you go to Poland, they've made progress. Now you have an equal chance anywhere else in Europe of getting run over by a car. They become to the state of civilization. And everywhere there's an advertisement just to arouse your desire to work like an ass so you can eat like a hog, sleep like a bear, have sex like a pigeon, and learn how to become a tiger and defend yourself. So they've made progress. But, and what's the problem? They don't realize that they're not their, even that they're not their body. And even if they realize that they're not their body, generally they become misled into impersonalism. But they don't know actually what is the value of spiritual existence. What is the value of spiritual life? Because they have no taste. They have no experience. Because they've been brought up by materialists, and they've followed materialists, and they've been educated by materialists, and the materialists, they become expert at propaganda. They can just manipulate the whole so-called civilization just by some advertisement. People know that the people who are leading them are untrustworthy, but they have no one to turn to. They don't know who's trustworthy and who's not trustworthy. And besides that, they've come to the material world to get cheated. Anyone who comes to the material world has come here to get cheated, and therefore they're looking to the best person. They're looking to find the best person to cheat them. It is said that there are 4 purusharthas. There is the artha, there is dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. And in Kali Yuga, there is no dharma, there is no understanding of moksha. There's only kama or artha for sense gratification, for kama. And that's all people know. And although they're very proud, they're very advanced, but actually they're advanced simply in animalistic propensities. And the countries that they look to are the biggest animals. Svavit per hostra karara. America, the land of the free and the brave. They're free to do anything that they want for their sense gratification. And they're so brave that they don't mind if they go to the darkest regions of hell in order to do it. And this is the leader for modern civilization. That if somebody can make money by hook and crook, then they're considered a great personality. And then everyone's hoping that there's some scandal, they can drag them down so that they can feel good. That here's a rascal, we've made him the most important person in the world, and therefore when we drag him down, then we become more important. So they don't know who to listen to, they don't know who to follow, they have no good example, but they have to follow some example. So they're free to just follow whatever example their minds and senses dictate to them. And the result is they simply go wherever that example goes. And generally speaking, it's not going to the most favorable places in the universe. As Prabhupada told Professor Kutaski at the University of Moscow, he said that after Prabhupada, as I mentioned before, gave so much philosophy about we're not this body, that we're all spiritual beings, that there's Varnashram, we should create people, men and women of first class, clean and truthful. And Professor Kutaski could not understand a word that Prabhupada was talking about. And then Prabhupada said, well, actually, there's no difference between your philosophy and our philosophy. Our philosophy is that you have to accept a leader. And your philosophy is you also accept a leader. You've accepted Lenin as your leader. And we've accepted Krishna as our leader. So you're going to follow Lenin and we're going to follow Krishna. And let's see where you go. Let's see where you go and let's see where we go. But you're going to taksha pratishta shutiya vibhina nasavarishir yasyanabhinam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajno yena kata sapanda. Everyone has to accept the leader and then follow them. Now we accept a leader who's beyond the material concept of life, as Prahlad Maharaj will say eventually in the next verse, actually. If we accept a leader who's accepted Krishna as their leader, then we'll go to Krishna. And if we follow anyone else, we'll go wherever they're going to go. So that's and our consciousness will be created according to who we're listening to, who we're following, what we're doing. That will create our consciousness for ourselves. So we have to see who's blind, who has eyes, and then we can make a decision who we want to follow and who we want to, where we want to go. That's our decision. So we only have free will, as it says in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that our free will consists in either orientating ourselves towards the ignorant misconception of identifying ourselves with these gross and subtle bodies, or orientating ourselves towards the true conception of identifying with Krishna. So that's our decision. Now Prahlad Maharaj, somehow or another, this is what he's telling Hiranyakashipu. That, my dear Hiranyakashipu, that you've made your decision to enjoy the material world. As a matter of fact, you've just gone through 120 years of austerity of the demigods, 120 years of the demigods, to get a body like you have now to rule over the universe and be happy in that way. So you made a decision to stay in the material concept of life. And the result is you'll get the results of your activities. But I myself, I made a decision to get out of the material concept of life, to go to Vishnu, to go to Krishna, and that's where I'm going to go. So that's up to you. And that's our decision too. And here it says, Naisham Matis Tavid Arukramangri, that we're fortunate because we've come in contact with a devotee of Krishna. And he's told us two things. One is we're not this body, and the other is that Krishna is God. Now we can take within our intelligence and understand that we're not this body, that this body is temporary, and that it doesn't matter what service we do, that all of us sooner today or tomorrow, we have to leave this body. But if we do some service to Krishna, then the result is that our destination will become more auspicious. And eventually we return home back to the spiritual world where everyone lives forever. As we live forever, so we have a choice. We can live forever in the material world, life after life, trying to make some progress, just like Syphilis. Syphilis, was that his name? Syphilis? What's that? The one who took the rock and he was trying to take the rock out of the... Sisyphus. He was trying to take the rock. He was condemned to be in a hole eternally. Sounds like the material world. And his job was to take a rock and bring it up towards the edge of the hole and then try to bring the rock out of the hole. But every time he just got to the edge of the hole and he's just about to bring the rock out of the hole, it would fall back again. And he'd start all over again. So that's material life. Every lifetime we start out very enthusiastic. This time I'm going to succeed. This time I'm going to get what I want. This time I'm going to become the center of the universe. This time my name and fame and fortune will live on forever. And then again we die. We go somewhere else. We start the whole process all over again. And we never make any progress. As Prabhupada said, even the ant that we see, he started out as Brahma, or a very prominent, powerful demigod, and now he's an ant. See, he believed he was going to lord it over the universe. He was going to rule the universe, control the universe forever, and now he's an ant. And similarly, Brahma or anyone else, not even Brahma, but anyone here is thinking that they're going to make progress and they're going to be able to stay here and enjoy that economic development forever. But they're wrong. And if we think that, as much as we think that way, we're also wrong. But as much as we think we should take shelter of Krishna, by hearing about Krishna and by serving Krishna, to that degree we become correct. And the result is that we take shelter of the pure devotee and follow his instructions. And the result is that we'll become pure devotees ourselves and go back to the spiritual world. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna. You mentioned that even some people say that they worship Krishna, but they just want to become Krishna or become the same as Krishna. They do not see themselves as much different from Krishna. So in Vrindavan also, you know, that devotees in Vrindavan are not thinking Krishna to be God. So oftentimes they even vehemently deny that Krishna is God, like Nanda Maharaja or somebody. So how do we properly explain the difference between these two
You mean the
denials
devotees
of...
Well, Nanda Maharaj worships Narayan as God. Everyone has to accept someone as God, but he worships Narayan to protect Krishna. So the point is, neither people love Krishna, nor do they accept him. So Nanda Maharaj loves Krishna, so that's beyond accepting Krishna. As Prabhupada said, the art of Krishna consciousness is the art of focusing one's attention and giving one's love to Krishna. So people, they focus their attention on Krishna in one way or another, but they deny Krishna. But they certainly don't give their love to Krishna. Now, if you can focus your attention and give your love to Krishna, even if in that loving, being under the internal energy of Krishna, you forget Krishna's opulence. But if you love Krishna, then your life is perfect. Love also includes to be profoundly a servant of someone. So the problem is not only they don't accept Krishna, but they don't accept that they're a servant of Krishna. Or even they accept Krishna, they don't accept that they're a servant of Krishna. But if you accept that you're a servant of Krishna, then that's perfection. And there's no one more profoundly feeling themselves a servant of Krishna than Nanda Maharaj, the other residents. And even they accept Narayan as God, they only accept Narayan as God because they feel they can help serve Krishna better. So they pray to Narayan to protect Krishna. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.